Thank you for having me. When I agreed to do this, when Frederica asked me, I was honored, and I agreed to come and speak, and I thought that it would be on ED or trauma or something that I knew something about when I agreed to come and speak at the first annual Talk of North Bay first anniversary. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to keep her busy. There's an This is killing me. I didn't know I was subject to the rules, so I'll play along and look for my critique at the end. 5 to 7 minutes, she told me when we got down to brass tacks when I asked her what we were going to be doing today. And so 5 to 7 minutes is not a very long time. And then she also told me the tough part, that you wanted to hear about my life, that you wanted to hear about my journey. So the first part, very easy for me to talk about trauma, ED, nursing, things I'm passionate about, things that I know a lot about. But to talk about myself, that was a bit of a different story. And 5 to 7 minutes, how do I tell you about a journey that's taken me 40 years to complete in 5 to 7 minutes? So those of you that know me, this was kind of tough. So I pondered it for a bit, and then she also told me that she needed a title for this speech, and I thought it over in my head a bit, and so I came up with Humble Beginnings, so Others May Live. And So Others May Live is our trauma motto here at the hospital. And 5 to 7 minutes, I thought about it, and 5 to 7 minutes, it's a perfect time for a eulogy. Very appropriate, right? I'm glad this group has a sense of humor. I'm going to grab my water. A little dry, sorry. So I thought about it. I thought, that's a perfect way to memorialize someone to an audience is a eulogy. And so I decided that I would write and deliver my own eulogy.
Oh, wow.
So writing your own eulogy, I found, is a sobering task, or a drunken one. And while some might enjoy the final say and getting to pick what gets remembered about them, it turned out to be a lot harder than what I expected. And I struggled with it a little bit about just how honest to be. What defines me? In 5 to 7 minutes, what would I want you to know about me, about the man I am, where I'm from, what I stand for, and more importantly, for those in the room that work with me, why do I do the things that I do? So, with that said, I'll eulogize myself, and I hope I can do him, or me, justice. So Daman Mott was a mistake from the beginning. Never should have been here, and his parents had been told that there would be no more children. True story. My parents had been quarreling. The marriage was doomed. However, the unlikely happened, and you can insert fortunately or unfortunately. I arrived kicking and screaming in August of 1972 at KI Sawyer Air Force Base. I was the last of 3 children. And after a brief stint in Spain, my family moved back to Cayuga, Indiana, where I was raised, a thriving metropolis of 800 people on the Indiana-Illinois border. In 1980, my parents divorced. Excuse me. And I made the toughest decision of my young life. My parents, in their infinite wisdom, called me and my siblings into the living room and announced this to us, and then asked us who we wanted to live with. And 8-year-old Damon, not wanting to make that decision, he hid behind a couch. But you can't hide from fate, and so I had to choose. All the children went with their mother, and I would be remiss here not to mention her. My mother loved a lot in her time, and although it was unbeknownst to me, I was soon to meet the first of several suitors and number 1 of 4 stepfathers. Anecdotally, this prince of a man was number 1 and number 4. You can laugh there, it's all right. And although this was the ending of my childhood and the beginning of the downward spiral into a lot of years of poverty and desolation for me, it also marked a turning point of self-reliance and self-discovery that continues to this day. He never remembered being a child after telling his father that he wanted to live with his mother. Another key event in my life took place soon after that. I told you I was from a small town. My great aunt, the sister of my grandfather, was a cashier at the Five and Dime. Pretty prestigious job in little Cayuga. And so I loved nothing more than to run down to the Five and Dime every spare moment that I got and say hi to my Aunt Marie, and then beeline down the toy aisle sort of towards the back of the store and look at the new Star Wars figures that had come out. Although at the time, $5 a piece for an action figure might as well have been $100. With a dirty face and hand-me-down clothes and no shoes, $5 might as well have been $100. Toys weren't in the budget. One day while I was there, perusing the wares and looking at the latest figures, Ewoks, if I remember correctly, which I was very impressed with at the time. George Lucas is a genius. I overheard the richest lady in town, and I'll leave her name out for posterity because I believe she's still alive, overhear the conversation with her and my aunt and the two clerks, and she said, "Watch out for that dirty little Mott kid. He'll rob you blind." And so I made 3 promises to myself that day. 1, that I would never forget how belittled and embarrassed I felt. Number 2, that I would never steal anything, and I hadn't stolen anything to that point. And number 3, that I was destined for something great, and that I would live to see her eat those words. So I got my first job and began raising my mother when I was 10. And I don't mean an allowance for doing chores or $5 for cutting my grandma's grass. I mean a for real go to work and get paid job. I walked beans, I detasseled corn, I set up and tore down at the carnival, and when I got older I worked concessions and games at the local fair and any event that I could hitch a ride to. My kids and most people that know me still laugh to this day to think that I was once a carny. I started paying utilities at age 12, and I paid my first set of property taxes at age 15, so we didn't lose our house. I often worked 2 jobs, and the money didn't go for new clothes or a fancy car. It went to keep the lights on, and sometimes for stepdad number whatever's liquor. A slight reprieve and some fond memories of my youth. I became an Eagle Scout at the age of 13, and I owe that to the Boy Scouts of America and the American Legion, which paid for everything, because otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. I still put that on my resume today because I'm very proud of it. Hard work and little pay became a way of life for me. I was neither an athlete nor a scholar. I actually didn't fit into any social group. And I often used wit and humor and sarcasm to deflect the cruel realities of high school. The house that we lived in when I graduated had no refrigerator, and the running water was sporadic. I often used an outhouse. And fortunately, some neighbors were very kind to me and allowed me to eat and shower at their homes. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. But even during these incredibly hard and depressing times, I carried a torch within myself. From the time I was very small, as I said, I felt like I was destined for great things. But in order to do that, I knew I had to escape. I'll skip around a bit here because I see the light.
It's okay. It's okay.
So my escape came in the form of the United States military, and I joined the military right out of high school. I enlisted at age 17. I graduated in 1990. I wore my Army pin for Jane today because she gives me such grief. But again, I was wise. I saw how the Air Force lived, and I switched. The military gave me unparalleled experiences and opened my eyes to parts of the world and a knowledge base that few people will ever know. The military also introduced me to my lovely wife, Deanna, who's here today to keep me honest. And in her own special way, she saved me from myself at a very low point in my life. She also gave me 2 beautiful daughters. The oldest one is here, Dominique. The mean, ratty one is at her friend's house and chose not to support her. I'm just kidding. Delaney's pretty too. And the 3 of them gave me the most precious gift that I ever received. They restored my faith in a concept that was torn from me at a very, young age. And that was the concept of family. So, as the colonel said, 3 wars on 4 continents, 3 degrees, a commission from the president, both the Army and the Air Force, a chest full of medals for leadership, valor, and saving lives of service members. That left me swollen with pride. I learned very early on that what filled me up was when I gave myself away. That's when I felt the best. It wasn't about rewards or anything else. The only time that I've ever really felt good and fulfilled is when I was giving something away. And honestly, of all the accolades that I've gotten, one of the awards, certificates that I treasure most is a simple piece of paper that came from the troops when I was deployed during the second rotation of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And it was voted on by the enlisted folks, so nobody had any say in it other than them. And it awarded me this award for being the officer most responsible for positive morale and welfare. Mm-hmm. That meant the people that took care of them. And that's a badge of honor that I keep pretty close to home. There have been a number of other things that continue to reaffirm this need with me. Inspirations like Morgan Gallegos and the trauma program, a promise to a little girl that I never met. So here I am, a respected leader, an expert in my profession, a visionary, a lifesaver, and that's how I came to stand before you today. Not as a big shot or a hero, but a collection of mistakes, bad experiences, poor judgments, a patchwork of redirecting and realigning, mitigation and perseverance, a living example of the power of the human spirit to overcome any obstacle and succeed in the face of extreme adversity. Adversity. Dang, you're going to nail me again. I want that job. And I guess in parting thoughts, I'm sorry for going over my time, but since I'm not a member of the club, it doesn't really apply, and I kind of break the rules to do what I want anyway. To this day, I still carry a dirty-faced little kid from Cayuga around inside me. And he has the heart of a lion. And he still influences a lot of my decisions. I hope I've set a good example for my daughters. I've taken the elevator to the top of my professional career, and I try every day to send it back down for someone else. I've been blessed beyond belief, and I'm so grateful to have risen from humble beginnings so others may live. Thank you.